Hi, I'm Tasha with One Big Happy Life, and welcome to my office, the actual place where I sit down and do my work 5 or more days out of the week, and the perfect place to talk to you about business and entrepreneurship, which has become such a big part of my life over the past several years as I've gone from turning what was a side hustle now into my full-time job, a multiple six-figure business that I have goals of scaling to 7 figures and beyond. So today I wanted to talk to you about just reflecting on my 2020, on my first year of full-time entrepreneurship in the midst of a global pandemic. I'm going to be just sharing the highs, the lows, lessons that I've learned just as I prepare for my next year in business, which is 2021. Because at the end of the year is also where I don't just reflect on what happened, which the previous year, which is really important, but also start planning for, well, what are our big initiatives? What are our big goals in 2021? So let's talk about kind of where 2020 started. I'm going to go back into 2019 to kick this off. So I quit my job as a banking and finance attorney in August of 2019. Oh my goodness, that's it. I'm done. I am officially unemployed. To go all in on running my business full time, which was just incredible, but also so incredibly scary because the business had to work. I needed to make money. I mean, not only to maintain the lifestyle that we love to live, but also because I have kids, one of whom was in college and one of whom was in preschool and daycare, right? And that's a very expensive time in your life. Well, both of those are very expensive times in our lives. And, we also have big savings goals. So not making money in my business was absolutely not an option. So it felt very scary at the time, I will tell you, to quit my job and jump into this entrepreneurship thing full time, even though I did wait until I knew that I could pay myself a six-figure income, because that's what I was making as an attorney. I waited until I knew I could pay myself that, or felt comfortable that I could pay myself that, before I decided to jump ship. But it still felt scary, right? So here I am, August, whole new world towards the end of August, full-time entrepreneur, awesome. But by October, we lost our childcare. We made a decision that was best for our family and best for Reeves to remove him from the daycare that he was in and to try to find a new place for him. Well, it took us the rest of 2019 into 2020 to get him into a new school. And so that's where I was, beginning of 2020, so excited. We're in January. As school opens again, second week of January, Reese is now in school. I'm like, yes, I am ready. 2020, I'm going to hit the ground running. This is going to be my $1 million year. In fact, if you've seen my vision board video, which if you haven't seen it, I'll drop a link down below or in a card up above for you. But on my 2020 vision board, I have big and bold $1 million, because I was casting that vision for myself that 2020 would be our first $1 million revenue year, where we made $1 million in 1 year. And we'll get into why I set that goal, how I feel about it now, how close we got later on. But that's where I was, beginning of 2020, casting that vision. This is going to be my year. So excited. And so we took an impromptu trip to Disney in February because I happened to have a business conference that I was going to in California, and we had never been to the California Disney. I never remember whether that's Disneyland or Disney World. And I remember Joseph kind of being a bit of a curmudgeon about it because we hadn't planned it, right? So it's not like we didn't have all of the money just sitting there waiting for us to take that vacation. We kind of had to crunch our budget a little bit and also plan to pay some of it off when we got back, which Joseph, wasn't the biggest fan of. But I'm like, but it's such a great opportunity. I'm already heading out there. So our family took this trip out to Disney. I really enjoyed my business conference. I got to meet in person one of my online business mentors, Amy Porterfield. Alexis got to meet her too. That was incredible. We come back from this trip. Now we're right at the beginning of March. And what happens? COVID happens. Reed's school shuts down. So we're doing virtual schooling of a 4-year-old where he only has like 2 Zoom classes a day, but we're still paying full-time private tuition. And, and things just started to get really taxing and draining, as you're probably familiar with because you've lived through 2020, right? But then add on to that the deaths, the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And as a Black person in America, the emotional toll that had on me and us as a family, on top of everything else that was going on in 2020. I was just like, nope. By June, I'm like, nope, 2020 is not going to be the $1 million year. This is not going to be my year. I need to rethink my 2020 word. I'm like, my 2020 word needs to be ease. It needs to be rest, right? And so I really just focused in 2020, instead of aggressively growing the business, on growing the business in a way that felt easy and very sustainable, and really was in alignment with the type of business that I wanted to create, having the type of messaging that I wanted to have, working with the type of people that I wanted to work with. And so even though 2020 is not going to be our $1 million revenue year, and that's totally okay, and really me, I grew so much as a business owner in 2020. And really my vision for One Big Happy Life and for what I want, the change that I want to make in the world with my business, has really solidified over the course of this past year. And honestly, giving myself permission to slow down, to say no, to find better balance between working in my business and being present as a mom and as a partner, that was what I needed, right? I actually didn't need the $1 million year this year. I needed time to get clarity and focus and to reset my priorities. And so what was great about 2020 was that even though I decided, yeah, okay, I'm not going to go after the $1 million year, we still grew. We still grew by 20%, which when I first told Joseph, I'm like, oh my gosh, $1 million is the goal. That's the goal. That's the goal. And I've been saying this for probably about 2 years now, that's kind of the thing that I wanted to work towards. Joseph's like, but Joseph's an accountant. It's business major, finance background, whereas I'm more of a consumer finance background. He is like, a business that grows 20%, that is a solid business. 20% growth year over year is you're on track. And so $1 million is way more than 20% growth, right? It's more than double what we are currently, what our revenue currently is year over year. And I'm like, it's okay. $1 million will be my goal every single year until I hit it. But I'll always also kind of, I've got to feel it out in any given year, because at the end of the day, I treat my business the same way I have always treated any other thing I've done to make money, meaning any other job, which is that I want my work to be fulfilling, but it also has to I've got to love it, right? I've got to really enjoy the work that I'm doing. And it's got to be fulfilling to me, not just when I'm there, but also helping to facilitate the rest of my life. And so, yes, I do want $1 million business, and I'll tell you a bit more about why I want $1 million business, but not at any cost. I've got to build it the right way. And if you've been here with One Big Happy Life for any period of time, this should not come as a surprise to you. Our whole mantra is find balance, build wealth, live happy. You've got to do all 3 of those things. So it's not going to be surprising to you that I'm like, I've got to build a business in the right way that is in alignment with my life, that helps me find balance, that helps me build wealth, and also enables a happy life. And so while, yes, next year, 2021, I'm like, 2021 is going to be my $1 million year. And you're going to hear me say every year is going to be my $1 million year until it is my $1 million year. That's how you achieve the big goals. You set it, you put it out there, and you say, this is the thing that I am going for. And I'm not going to stop until I get this thing, or until I decide that this goal no longer serves my vision for my life. Now, you might be wondering, well, Tasha, do I need to have $1 million business? Like, meaning do you need to have a $1 million business? Why do I want to have $1 million business? What's with this $1 million business thing? And first and foremost, let me say that not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. And we have people that work for us within our business, and they're not aspiring entrepreneurs. They are aspiring employees, and that's totally fine. And not everyone who is an entrepreneur needs or wants $1 million business, because you can build a multiple six-figure business or even a six-figure business and have that just be, that's all you need to live your best life, to accomplish your big financial goals, to do the work that you feel called to do. So don't feel like because my goal is a seven-figure business that you need to make seven figures in your life, whether it's as an entrepreneur or as an employee. That is just a personal goal that I have set for myself. And the reason why I've set that $1 million goal, there are several reasons. One being, when I think about the kind of work that I want to do, the kind of impact that I want to have, the kind of content and products and things that I want to create and put out into the world and how I want to help people, I see that as something that's going to require a team. I don't see myself as being a solopreneur and doing the work of a solopreneur. I see myself as having big impact, super high quality work. I mean, excellence is one of our core values as a company, and it's hard to be excellent. You're setting yourself up for failure if you require excellence in yourself in all things. We're not equally good at everything. And so I would love to have a team of people who are just excellent at what they do. And I'm not excellent at everything that I do. I'm good at a lot of things. I am phenomenal at a handful of things. And I would love to just focus on those things in my business and leave the other things to people who are better at them. Like project management, not my jam, but I have to do that right now. Although I should be onboarding someone who's going to be doing our project management within the next few weeks. So I'm really excited about that. So having a team, really important to me for my vision of what I want my business to look like. Being able to compensate that team well, also essential for me based on my values, how I think a business should show up in the world, how I think employees should be treated, paid time off, plenty like vacation, which I just said, but like sick leave, parental leave, company matching in their retirement accounts, obviously having a retirement account, which costs a company money, helping to pay for their healthcare, all of those things. That expansive benefit package is something that I believe that companies should provide to their people. And so that's something that I want to be able to provide to my people, and that costs money. And so hence the $1 million business. So it's not that I have set this goal where I personally want to make $1 million in a year. Would that be great? Yes. Is it essential? Not really, because I know what my ideal lifestyle on the personal side looks like. I know what my minimum savings rate is, and neither one of those things require me to make $1 million in a year to have the kind of lifestyle that I want to have. I really basically already have that lifestyle, so I know what that costs. It doesn't cost $1 million. What costs $1 million is the impact and being able to support the people that work for our company and to make it be a place where they never want to leave because they enjoy the work, because it lights them up, and because they are well compensated and don't have any reason to leave. So that's kind of my why behind that $1 million number. So next year, I am going to be launching the Wealth Life Balance podcast, which is all about creating a business that helps you live the life of your dreams. And during the next year, every single month in the podcast, I am going to be doing an income report, which is something that I've never done before on the business side of things. Obviously, Joseph and I have been doing net worth updates where we've been sharing how our wealth has grown month over month for like 3.5 years now. So it's not surprising to do these income reports on my business podcast, but to get it you will have to be subscribed to the podcast. So I'm going to be talking about it. So no worries that you're going to miss out. And the podcast will also be here on Fridays looking like this. This would be the video show version of the podcast, but I'll be sharing the journey with you because so often by the time we get to know an entrepreneur, by the time we find a business mentor, their business is so huge and already my business is a big size, right? To have a multiple six-figure business, to grow a multiple six-figure business is a big deal because most entrepreneurs don't make six figures. And less, like some single-digit percentage of companies run by women ever break seven figures, which is also why, when I see a glass ceiling, I like aiming for it, right? I like trying to break it, especially as a woman of color, as a woman who did not have an entrepreneur background, as an immigrant, as a mom of two kids, as a former single mom. There are so many reasons to set these really big goals to inspire people to go after whatever their big and best goal is for themselves. And so I'm really excited to have you along with me for the journey. I'll be sharing backstage, behind the scenes on what is going on in the business. I think so many people, they see these videos and it's just like the tip of the iceberg. And then there's all this stuff underneath that goes into running a business that people often aren't aware of. So I'm going to be sharing that, and on the podcast, sharing tips about how you can create a business on the side of your day job, especially when you're working a demanding professional job, especially when you know that you need six figures from that business in order for it to be a viable option for you. And I think that there are a lot of people who worked really hard to be in these careers that are on the outside looking in, amazing careers. Anyone would have killed to be a lawyer making six figures. And I loved the work I did, but I felt called to do something else. And this is harder, but this is also so much more fulfilling. I enjoy it so much more. And I want to empower other people to be able to make those shifts in their lives, not just by showing them what's possible by going before them and doing it, which is what I'm doing, but also sharing what I'm learning along the way, which I'll be doing here on Fridays and over on the Wealth Life Balance podcast. So definitely subscribe to the podcast. The first episode comes out January 4th, and I'll be doing the monthly income revenue reports over on the podcast exclusively. So I hope that you have enjoyed this 2020 reflecting on my first year of full-time entrepreneurship. Let me know what questions you have down in the comments, because I use the comments to kind of think about what kinds of topics do I need to cover? What questions do people have? What backstage, behind the scenes things do you want to know about? If you're thinking about entrepreneurship, what's been holding you back? Where are you struggling? Because I want to help you on your journey. And if you want to work with me and my team to grow your profitable business starting in January 2020, you should go ahead and apply to my Ascend Incubator, which is my coaching program where I work closely with you to help you build your profitable business from scratch. You don't have to go it alone. You don't have to trial and error it. You can have a mentor like me and a team to help you work through those early entrepreneur decisions to make sure that you're building a profitable business the right way so that you can quit your day job and go all in. To apply to Ascend, head on over to onebighappylife.com/coaching. We have an amazing community of people growing their six-figure businesses, and I would love to have you in it too. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.